Hey tea heads, this is Don from Mayleaf. In this video, what is rock rime in tea? In this video, I'm going to be celebrating my birthday with an ultra special Yancha Rock Oolong, and I'm going to be trying to give you my thoughts and opinions about this often talked about concept of yen yun or rock rime. If at any point in time you enjoy this video, then make sure you hit it with a like, and if you're not following us on all of our socials yet, then go click those buttons. It's my birthday, it's Halloween. Happy Halloween, everybody out there. I have taken the day off work, but I thought I would get up a bit early, share some tea with you, celebrate my birthday with an ultra premium Yancha. This is Golden Turtle. It's released today as a special for my birthday, also known as Shui Jin Gui, a very, very famous and very much sought after Yancha Rock Oolong from Wuyi area. And I thought I'd take the opportunity to discuss the often talked about and often kind of thrown around term of yen yun or rock rime in tea. Let's get going. Here we go. This is Golden Turtle, as I said, released today. Let's quickly scope it. This is from spring 2018, which is exactly right because it's October 2018 now. You shouldn't drink these charcoal roasted teas any earlier than this because you need to leave some time for that roast to calm down. So spring 2018, this was picked and produced. The cultivar, as I said, is the Shui Jin Gui cultivar, known as Golden Marine Turtle or Golden Turtle. Every tea has its own origin story, and the origin story of this one goes that there was a turtle god who was the tea gardener in heaven, and he became frustrated that the gods weren't appreciating his efforts. He meditated for over 1,000 years and he wasn't getting any love from the gods, and then he heard one morning the humans celebrating the first flush of tea of the year, and he thought, I'm better hanging out with these people, and so transformed himself into the Golden Turtle cultivar. There you go. There's the nice flowery story around this tea. Oh, and the sun has briefly come out. So this is Shui Jin Gui, much sought after. You can get it, but it's produced in smaller quantities compared to the other cultivars, and of course there are many grades, and they tend to all command a very high price. So you've got to be always careful with these types of high ticket teas that you make sure you get a good one. The origin is from Zhengyan in Wuyi in China. For those of you who don't know, Wuyi is an area in Fujian province in China which is famed for producing these rock oolongs, and Wuyi is split up into, the Wuyi Mountains is split up into different areas that have kind of been designated different levels of quality. It's not so black and white, of course, but certainly tea which is grown in Zhengyan area tends to be the premium quality product because the terroir, the rocks in that area, the minerals, the way that it's protected from the climate around it makes it a really, really perfect spot-on place to grow these kinds of teas. And so this one is from the protected area of Zhengyan. Picking and processing, a little bit secretive here. All of these Wuyi oolongs I found, it's much harder to get really good information out of the farmers. They tend to be a bit more secretive. My assumption, and I think most of it is correct, is it's going to go through the standard oolong processing, which means picking up to third and fourth leaf, so larger leaf picking, withering it under the sun for at least an hour to develop flavor, and then this is where it becomes a little bit secretive. They will obviously continue to wither. There will be some rolling and shaking going on, and it will be left to oxidize. Now, I have heard stories that they use a wet cloth sometimes to cover the leaves during the oxidation process. That's something that I have not seen myself, so I cannot verify it, but potentially that might be done, which would obviously change the oxidation process and start to bring in a little bit of fermentation potentially. Then it'll be heated, it'll be rolled, and then it will go to final roasting. This is charcoal roasted, so it's going to be a roasted Shui Jin Gui. There are Shui Jin Guis or Golden Turtles which are less roasted. I tend to prefer the more traditionally roasted versions of these teas. They just tend to give a lot more body and a lot more length, and I think that that yen yun that we're going to talk about seems to be accentuated by the roast. Elevation on this is about 950 meters. All right, so there's your scope. Let's dive into this. We're going to do a tasting of it. As I said, I'm very, very excited because this for me is a special treat to take out Golden Turtle. I've saved it up for my birthday. Got up early today. Looks like it's shaping up to be an okay day. There are clouds in the sky, so you never know what's going to happen. All right, let's put these leaves in here. The leaves themselves, classic Wuyi Yancha look. They've got that raisin brown, black olives, twisted leaves. The leaves tend to have this sort of matte, but sometimes have a little bit of sheen on it, so you can kind of, as you move it in the light, it glints a little bit. So it's got a nice, interesting texture to it. Let's give it a smell. So the first time I tried this tea was a few months ago, 4 or 5 months ago, something like that. It had been fresh produced, and it was late night. Everyone was asleep, but I couldn't sleep, so I got up and thought I'd do some tasting. I tasted this, and I think I even tweeted that it was a tea that blew my mind. The smell on it is incredible. You're getting a little bit of chocolate, you're getting some carob, you're getting some salted almonds, caramel. Shui Jin Gui, you'll often hear is talked about as more of a fruity yancha. And I'm getting a little bit of fruit, but it is more dried fruits. It is more dried red fruits, but predominances of warmth and sweetness. Chocolate, like sweet oat biscuits that have been dark baked. Very, very warm and enticing. And the aroma, I have to say, is very, very rising. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean, it's very, very strong. It feels like it fills your head. And this is something when we talk about yen yun that we're going to talk about is yen yun is very difficult to pin down, and I think that everyone has slightly different interpretations of it. But for me, there needs to be this really rising aroma that comes from the tea. All right, let's give this a smell. Oh, wow, wowzers. Oh my gosh, I'm getting dried cherries. I'm getting a little bit of wood in there, but more like a wood varnish, like a little bit. I know that sounds not so nice, but it is a really nice smell. Dried cherries. I'm getting some leather. I'm getting some oranges, juicy oranges, maybe not as sweet as that, maybe blood orange or pink grapefruit. Blood orange, I would say. I would go for that. I'm getting vanilla. So you're getting that perfect combination of the sweetness of vanilla, and you know how wood, fresh cut wood, can have that almost vanilla-y note to it. I'm getting dried fruits like cherries. I'm getting some savory note. A little bit of savory saltiness to it as well, but maybe like a salted fruits, like a salted plum. I'm getting those, as I said, vanilla, whiskey wood notes, but I'm also getting a juiciness like blood orange and leather as well. It is a heady, complicated, and very, very engaging aroma. Okay, I'm using 5 grams of leaf here for 100 grams. For 100 ml of water, I would say that is the minimum. Please, with these premium teas, the worst thing you can do is try to eke it out and hold on to the leaf by using a little amount. Honestly, these leaves, you know, the thing about this large leaf picking is that the intensity of the leaf is going to fade relatively quickly compared to other types of tea. So you want to make sure you put a lot of leaf in. Really give yourself that experience. We're going to be brewing for about 20 seconds. The color on this liquor is very, very interesting because even though it is that whiskey cognac, well, yeah, more orange actually, very orange color, orange brown. It also has a slight green yellow tint to it that I find is very, very unique to this cultivar. Slightly lighter, greener yellow tint to it. Right. Birthday drink, first tea of the day. Happy Halloween, everybody. I hope that you're going to go out and have lots of fun if you celebrate Halloween. Texture, soft, thick, syrupy, smooth. But also, I say soft, but after you've swallowed, you notice a certain kind of crunchiness to it, a certain rockiness to it that is obviously coming from growing in those very rocky environments in Wuyi. So yeah, soft and syrupy at the start, but when you swallow, you notice the crunchy nature, the mineral nature of this liquor. It is such a delightful texture on the tongue. Right, I'm going to try to avoid talking about aftertaste because, as we'll see, Zhengyan is all about after you've swallowed. Let's focus on taste. First infusion is going to be more predominant in its roast, but certainly I'm already picking up the fruitiness of this tea. So we're starting off with things like leather and woods, but then you're going into those vanilla notes, fudgy notes, and again a distinct fruity tang towards the end. I'm going to say orange, but instead of the juiciness of, say, blood oranges that I smelt on the leaves, it's probably more like orange boiled sweets, candies, those kinds of orange, concentrated orange flavor. And the finish on this is nuts. It's totally nuts. When I first tasted this very late at night, I think I only had about 3 infusions of it, but I knew from like first infusion, I would know right now, the Zhengyan, or at least my interpretation of what Zhengyan means on this, is incredible. Okay, we're going to do another infusion where we focus on taste, and then we're going to get into the discussion of rock rime or Zhengyan. Color of the liquor is same again, this really interesting green yellow tinge if you look around the sides of the Gongdao Bay. Cheers everybody. Yeah, same notes, a little bit less of the roast, although I have to say that this is medium roasted. I would say it's not a dark roasted tea. You can already start to see green flecks starting to appear in the leaf a little bit. So this is medium roasted, so the charcoal is there, but it's very, very, very nicely understated, and as I said, leave it a bit longer and it will calm down even more. But it is great to drink now. Right, yeah, I'm getting those dried cherries again. It's the combination of dried cherries, oranges, a little spiciness to it, a little herbaceous spiciness to it, a little yeah, peppery spiciness going on as well. Charred wood, bourbon casks, vanilla, fudge, orange, all of that good stuff. Right, let's get on to talking about Zhengyan. You may have heard of these kinds of concepts before. Zhengyan is one that is most often talked about regarding these teas, these Yancha's Rock Oolong teas. Then you get Yingyun, which is pretty much reserved for Tieguanyin. You have things like Hoyun, you've got things like Huigan, you've got things like Cha Chi. All of these concepts in tea drinking that people talk about a lot, but a lot of people have different interpretations of what they mean, and that's very common in the Chinese culture in general. So it's something that you've just got to kind of accept and go with and find your own interpretation in some ways regarding these concepts. And obviously the way that you do that is by tasting teas that are supposed to have high yen yun. And I would say that this Shui Jin Gui is one of the most high yen yun teas that I have tasted, certainly this year, but in general it's definitely in that upper echelon. You can tell that it's been picked and grown in the perfect terroir, and it is the right cultivar to express yen yun. So what do I mean by yen yun? Yen yun is not a taste, in my opinion. Yen yun, often people talk about the taste of minerality or the taste of rock. I don't think it's so much of a taste. Some people say that yen yun is a sensation. I would be a little bit more in agreement with that. I think it's more of a sensation, although I don't think it's necessarily something that you can easily pinpoint as in it's astringent or it's tingling, or it's a combination of things. For me, yen yun is a combination of things. So what are those things that I look for? The first thing is there's a certain feeling that you have on your tongue when you have a very mineral rich tea. It's not a taste so much. As I said, there's a crunchiness in the texture, but also your tongue seems to react. The closest that I could kind of describe it is almost like a slightly tingling, cooling sensation. It's not very accurate. I've been trying to think about how I would describe it. It's not astringent. It's like a buzzing, cooling sensation that you feel all over your tongue, wherever the liquor hits. Cooling is probably not the best way to describe it, but I have no other way of explaining it. It's a sensation that maybe if you imagine, I know we've spoken about this before, but if you were a kid and you were a bit naughty and you put battery on your tongue, like the square batteries, so you created a circuit, you'd get this sensation, not so much the tingle, but this kind of interesting cooling sensation. That's all I can say to describe it. If you can describe it better, please put some comments in the section below. So I look for that. That's my first initial marker. Ooh, this may have some good yen yun. Then after you swallow, what you're looking for is a couple of things. The first is an intense juiciness starts to form. Now we talk a lot about juiciness in tea, which basically means that once the tea has caused some astringency in your mouth then starts to produce saliva, and that is what we call a juiciness. But with these yenchas, it's dialed up a whole other level, especially with teas that have high yen yun or rock rime. It's just, you get this almost flooding juiciness coming from the sides of your tongue, from kind of your saliva glands at the back of your tongue, also down your throat. There's a distinct intensity of juiciness. So there's almost a flooding feeling in your mouth. Now the taste of that flooding saliva will probably be a little bit sweeter. So it's a pleasant taste because they're combining with the minerals that have been laid down on your throat and tongue, and that adds a certain sweetness to the saliva. So first thing I'm looking for is that strange mineral sensation on the tongue and throat. Second thing is I'm looking for a dry to extremely juicy mouthfeel. So even though there are parts of my mouth that are dry, there are parts of my mouth right now which are flooding with juiciness and saliva production. And then the next thing, and I think probably the most important for me, is the thickness of the aroma. So I'm not talking about the aroma itself, because that can change according to the tea, but there's a certain thickness. It's like a dense fog hanging over a city that compared to, I don't know, clouds going by. That denseness of the aroma compounds means that it stays in your mouth and stays and rises. So as you breathe, you can almost move it around. You can move it up to your head. You can move it into your chest. And as you breathe, it keeps coming. It's like this, it's so dense. It's so thick. It's so dense, the aroma cloud in your mouth, in your throat, in your lungs, that even when you breathe in and out, it's still there. It's persistent. It's that density, that rising thickness of the vapor of the aroma, which for me is super important, and what I take the most pleasure out of in these teas. Because while the flavor profile of this tea is incredible, we're talking dried cherries, vanilla, fudge, oranges, leather, what's not to like about that? The difference between this and one that has one that does a tea which doesn't have as much rock rime is that I will get that taste and aroma fleetingly, but after I've swallowed, I don't have a persistence of that aroma. It's not thick in my mouth, in my nose, and in my lungs. I'm not getting that mineral sensation, that slightly buzzy mineral sensation, and that flooding nature from the sides of my tongue and down my throat. So for me, Zhengyan is a combination of those things. If I get all of that, and it tends to come together, I have to say, if you get all of that in a tea experience, then for me, I would say that has got some Zhengyan or rock rime. A lot of people talk about it in terms of like reverb or the aftertaste, which I agree with, all of that, but I'm trying to kind of break it down into something that's a little bit more practical for you to look out for. It is a sort of persistence, and if you get a very good Rock Oolong that has very good rock rime, then a few infusions is all you need, and you can go about your day and you can still be breathing in and smelling this incredible aroma, because the level of minerality means it's like your tongue and throat is just covered in it, and it's just continuously emitting this incredible aroma. Let's have a sniff of the empty Gongdao Bei, which, judging by how much persistence is in my mouth and in my nose right now, I'm going to be sure that it's very, very strong. Yeah, I'm getting more of that salted caramel, almonds, dried cherries, and again, a little bit of cut charred wood, cherry wood, I want to say, just to bring out the cherry note a little bit more, and a little bit of those leather-bound books, but a little bit more nutty than I remember. Nougats, salted caramel. I'm going to do a brand name here. You know, I don't know if you know, but Dime bars, very classic Scandinavian sweet. It's one of the only bars that I used to love as a kid. Dime bars has this kind of salty, I think it's almond caramel, and it really smells it there. Let's look at the leaves here. You can see that they're starting to reveal the green nature of these leaves. You can probably get around 7 or 8 good infusions. As I said, with these yanchas, you're not going to get a huge amount of infusions compared to, let's say, a pu'er tea, because of the nature of the picking. It's all about celebrating those 6-7 infusions at the beginning for me, really, and then what you do is you have that rock rime persistence going on in your mouth. So I'm going to continue drinking this tea. This is my birthday wake up, my Halloween prep before the birthday celebrations begin. I hope that this has clarified a little bit about what Zhengyan means to me. I would be very interested. Ooh, orange candy coming through. Really lovely orange boiled sweet candy coming through on the finish, and again that persistence of aroma. So I'd be very interested to hear what your thoughts are on Zhengyan in the comments section below, and if you'd like me to do more videos regarding these kinds of tea appreciation concepts like cha chi and hui gan, then please do let me know in the comments section below, and I will start to prep those videos for you. That's it, tea heads. If you made it to the end of this video, then make sure you hit it with a like. Follow us on all of our socials so that you don't miss out on any news and videos from Mayleaf HQ. If you're ever in London, then come visit us in Camden to say hi and taste our wares. If you have any questions, comments, or video ideas, then please fire them over. Other than that, I'm Don from Mayleaf. Thank you for being a part of the revelation of true tea. Stay away from those tea bags. Keep drinking the supreme stuff and spread the word, because nobody deserves bad tea. Bye.